Hey folks, Jimmy here, aka Palette of the Dead. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to one of the missing issues of Warhammer 40k Combat Patrol magazine. Now, as per usual with all these videos, if you like them, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and of course, drop us a comment down below. I love hearing back from you guys, and it goes a massive way to helping out the channel too. Now, this video, we are on issue 16 of Combat Patrol magazine. Now, obviously, this is one of the missing issues for me because, as you will have seen, we've already had issue 21. So this is, 5 weeks old, essentially. This isn't the only issue that is still missing. I am still missing the 2 issues with the Terminators and one of the issues with the Termagants. Eventually, all 3 of those will hopefully turn up. Bit of a mystery as to when they're going to turn up, but fingers crossed they'll arrive at some point because it's a little bit frustrating. So, issue 16. Issue 16 is a paint issue, so 2 pots of paint as per standard with all of these. So, first off, we get Mephiston Red. Mephiston Red is a very, very nice red colour. I must admit, yeah, does exactly what you need it to do. It's brighter than your good old Khorne Red, but not as bright as Wazdakka Red. Wazdakka Red is a slight increase in brightness in terms of shade from this, and obviously Wild Rider Red is more orange than it is red anyway, but it does very well. It does exactly what you need it to do. It's a very, very good colour. Now, obviously, as if you've already seen the video for issue 21, you'll have seen we use a Mephiston Red as a base layer over the entirety of the mini. I'm not a big fan of that. Personally, I think that you could use better colours to give it a better tone overall. It's a very basic way of doing it. And I think I like to go put extra steps in that I probably don't need to anyway. But otherwise, it's a decent colour. It works very, very well. It does exactly what you need it to do. And yeah, it's just pretty good. So happy days with that one. The other colour we get is Squig Orange. Squig Orange can be utilised for a bit of highlighting here, there and everywhere. Yeah, it's one of them colours, I must admit, I don't use it very often myself. So, yeah, it is what it is. But otherwise, it's a decent colour. If you're painting up squigs from the Orc range or anything like that, then in all honesty, you could go with a whole of them painted like this, or you could do what I do. I go Khorne Red, Mephiston Red, and then a dry brush highlight of Squig Orange, and I think they work out far better, in all honesty. But yeah, I'm sure it will come in handy. It's a decent colour, so yeah, you can't knock it. Anywho, going into issue number 16, first off, we are, of course, because it's a paint issue, greeted by a How to Paint section. The How to Paint section obviously giving you an introduction of how to utilise Mephiston Red and Squig Orange for the minis you already had at the time of print for this magazine. So, Mephiston Red, using it on things like the cloak and the half cloak and pipes and such like that for your Space Marine Captain in Terminator armour and the Librarian in Terminator armour, works very, very well. Over the haft of the weapon, yeah, in all honesty, personally, I went Baraknar Burgundy, and I think it looks far, far better for it. Then, obviously, utilising it on things like the helmet for the Space Marine Sergeant, for your Infernus Marines, and your Terminator as well, can work very, very nicely. The other thing you can do with it, of course, is utilising it for things like the eyes on the helmets, lenses, any kind of scopes. You can utilise it on, if you wanted to, you can utilise it on purity seals. You can do a bit of anything and everything with it. It's one of them kind of versatile paints. It can go very, very well, just as long as you're using it in the right parts. But otherwise, entirely up to you how you want to go about doing it, but it can look pretty damn cool. So, happy days. If you are, of course, following the guide and you haven't already done this bit, this is exactly how your minis are going to look if you're following the guide for it. This is still a work in progress. There are other parts that need to be painted, so we will get to them later on. Using your Squig Orange, the way it teaches you on here, for some parts of it, not too bad. The wings on the winged Tyranid Prime, in all honesty, pretty cool. not going to lie. Using over things like the kind of mandibles and feeding tendrils on things like your Von Ryan Sleepers, not bad. Using on the guns for the termagants and barb gaunts, yeah, I'm not a fan. I don't like that colour scheme. I think it doesn't look too great, and there are better ways of doing it, but I can understand the idea behind it. But otherwise, it's entirely up to you. How you want to go about doing it, enjoy it, but yeah, enjoy. Once you're done with painting, though, you can have something that looks like that. Obviously, this is pre-shades, so we will get shades later on, whether it's Carroburg Crimson, maybe, or Reichland Flesh Shade, or something like that, that will go over the top of all of those, fills all those nice little niches and those little gaps, and all those recessed areas, and makes it look a little bit more interesting, and gives it a bit more depth and warmth and such like. So, not too bad, but not 100% my cup of tea. Moving on from there, though, obviously you got a read section to do with Space Marines and the Ultramarines in particular. So the Ultramarines are paragons of war. Each is not just physically mighty warrior, but a scholar of tactics and strategy capable of formulating a plan for any scenario. Every bolt, shell, and pummeling fist is placed with strategic position. The Ultramarines obviously being the kind of poster boy of the 41st millennium, the most iconic of all Space Marine chapters. They have been around for thousands of years, both in terms of lore and what seems like in reality. In all honesty, when you come to Warhammer, you will see Ultramarines everywhere. So Ultramarines are the iconic kind of faction within the Space Marines. So yeah, you can't avoid them. But they are pretty cool. They do have some nice little bits. They are just very, very generic. Personally, if you're going to go Space Marines, if I was going to go Space Marines, I think I'd probably either go Dark Angels or Blood Angels or something along them lines for something a little bit more interesting, or even better, Space Wolves, because they are really cool. And they all have unique things, whereas the Ultramarines seem to be good all-rounders and very much straight down the middle, bland, boring. Yeah. Anyway, going on from there, though, you do have a fiction section, part 4 of Bonds of Honor. If you've read all the other bits, which I must admit I don't think I have, obviously fits in very nicely. So pretty cool stuff, and gives us a bit more story to do with the good old Space Marines going up against a Tyranid threat, which, you know, always fun. Then moving on from there, though, we get a bit of information to do with the Tyranids themselves. So, Leviathan. High Fleet Leviathan is the largest High Fleet encountered by the Imperium so far. Having emerged all across the galaxy, High Fleet Leviathan has quickly established itself as a terrifying force, notable for the vice-like grip of its leader beasts exert on their charges. Not quite the right words. Anyway, High Fleet Leviathan is feared across the galaxy. Such is its vast size. Its tendrils have been encountered all across the Imperium, each bringing ruin and despair to countless worlds. Even in spite of the setbacks suffered on Baal, High Fleet Leviathan remains active throughout the galaxy, and it poses a significant threat. So, as you can imagine, many of the High Fleets are given different names. They are giving names for all linked to myth, and human myth in particular, like the Leviathan and Kraken and such like that. And I have a bit of interesting information. So Leviathan being the most recent, because it's part of the most recent edition, is quite a deadly force to go up against, and quite a terrifying force at the same time. So pretty cool information there. And you get a little bit more information on the backside of that page as well, all to do with the first among fleets. So being one among an increasing number of high fleets, and being probably the most significant in sheer size and numbers as well. Pretty cool. Moving on from there though, obviously carrying on with all our basic rules and such like that, so you get more of basic rules to do with the special abilities. So special abilities can include things like feel no pain and ignoring cover and such like that, and that will all be listed in a lot of places, and obviously certain roles can give you those abilities and utilize them, which is pretty cool stuff. And on the other side as well, so things like the anti and devastating wounds and such like that that you can utilize, and all the keywords. Obviously, if you're going to be playing along with this, you do need to be reading these sections because it gives you a good bit of information that you're going to want later on for playing solo battles that you're not relying on scenarios to kind of hold your hand through. Talking of scenarios, the Psyker-Eater is the scenario for issue 16, utilising the Space Marines in the shape of a Librarian in Terminator armour, 5 Infernus Marines and 3 of the Terminators, going up against the Tyranids in the shape of a Winged Tyranid Prime, 10 Termagants, 5 Barb Gaunts and the Psychophage. Pretty cool stuff. And then just going a bit more head to head on the kind of battlefield with some of those terrain cards as well to utilise for things like cover, and have at it. Enjoy yourself. It's a pretty good little battle and could be quite good fun. Either way, just enjoy it. So have a bit of fun. When you're going through the kind of mission though, you'll have some pretty good, interesting results, I am absolutely sure, and that is it. Going on from there though, obviously the weeks after were issues 17 and 18. I'm still missing issue 17. Eventually that will turn up, and I'm missing the 2 issues. I want to say 2 issues before this. I might be wrong on that, but either way, I'm missing the Terminators from the Space Marines, and that's it. So eventually they will turn up, and we'll be caught up and on time and in date with everything, because we've already had issue 21, and that was on time. So it is what it is. Anywho, that is more than enough from me. Thank you so much for watching and joining me on this adventure, and yeah, eventually we'll catch up with the others. Anyway, thank you very much, and I will see you sometime soon. Bye bye now.